But in reality, that doesn't really happen. I guess someone like around my age, because I can probably relate to them a little bit more. And yeah.
Great. And or like, is it a family? Is it a single? Is it does that
Yeah, I
matter?
prefer families. I've had a few divorces. I find like, it's so funny because I find, I'm sure most of the people in this room can relate, a lot of the people that I associate with are now getting divorced. And I hate that. Like I'm just not, yeah.
Okay, great. So you're kind of that middle-aged to younger families that are looking to buy. They're obviously educated because they've already got their financing organized and in place.
They're in their first house, they're moving into now their forever home, like that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Will you come on?
You know, it's interesting that I've gone through my whole list of things, and you've said the same things, and everybody has said the same things, and I really, really feel like I don't want to work with buyers.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And I discovered that. I don't, I'll do
Margaret
it.
Carmel focuses on sellers.
I do. I just don't, I can't relate to them. I don't trust them. And they call me, and I have to admit, a lot of the time I don't even return calls because I don't know what to say to them.
I was just going to say hello.
I will, because unless it's a seller who wants to buy, good, but I don't enjoy it, as much.
What do you not enjoy about it?
Well, it's the uncertainty. If I know they've sold and I'm helping them and I know them, then I can help them to buy. It's not a problem. But this idea of people coming out of God knows where and calling me and saying, and not lying to me too. What's that?
I said you've been in the business for a little while.
That's it, enough.
Okay, awesome. Joe, who's your ideal buyer?
I'm assuming I will have the most success with first-time buyers, as opposed to someone that's selling and buying. So I'm guessing my ideal will be a first-time buyer, possibly just married or single.
So I want you to
for a
stop,
condo.
Joe, and I want you to start again. Because you're making assumptions and you're making guesses based on the fact that you're new to real estate. But you're not new to business. You've been in business for a long time. You've been in the working force for a long time. So you have a lot of skills and a lot of things to offer. So reset your brain and think about who that perfect client would be. Who's that perfect buyer? Forget assuming this is all I can do. Who in a perfect world, everything aligns, what does your perfect buyer look like? And we're gonna come back to you, okay?
Okay.
So you're gonna start again. Nadia.
I'm looking for the buyer who has first thing his mortgage pre-approved. He's serious enough and committed, because sometimes people are shopping and for the different agents, thinking that maybe that other agent will be the magician. And for the one who knows what he wants exactly to buy, who has this property in his mind.
Is it a male, because you're using the word he, or is it a family, or is it a, okay.
Yeah.
And what age group are they in?
I prefer the same group age as me. But I have also a lot of patience. I can work with older people.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry.
That's a good point. Okay. Okay, it's a good start. Frederica?
I think that I like the idea. I just had a great experience selling a townhouse and buying a first house, a condo to a house. I really like that because it was like an exciting time of life. They were super motivated to do it. And I sort of, having made my own house buying mistakes, I sort of feel like I could orient people away from, like who've never been in a house, I can orient them away from maybe a bad house. Right? So I think that would be the ideal. So if they were a couple in this case, and then I looked at another one who just sold and might buy, although I'm not sure where that stands. But
So that kind of have a condo, so it's probably their second purchase, but it's the first foray into home ownership
That's right.
versus condo ownership.
Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
super. Okay, Joe, we're coming back to you. We want to
Oh,
hear your
gosh.
big, grandiose ideal of who your perfect buyer is.
Assuming, sorry, jeez. Someone who's upsizing,
Mm-hmm.
looking for a bigger place, possibly
Mhm.
from a condo to a house, who looking in the city
Mm-hmm.
and have kids,
Mm-hmm.
and looking for someone who's honest and trustworthy and reliable.
Great, much better. Well done, that's great. Awesome. So where are we gonna find these people? How are we gonna find them? The specific person that you want. Not every buyer on the planet, because there's tons out there, and we're not gonna like all of them, they're not gonna like us, we're not gonna relate to all of them. We're going to relate to the ones that we all just spoke about specifically. So where are we going to find those specific buyers that we want to work with? How are we going to access those people?
Referrals from other buyers.
Referrals? Yeah, great idea. Referrals are a great option. How are you going to get referrals? How do people know to send Frederica Mintz business?
That's a good.
Mhm.
That's
So,
a challenge.
and all that question does is it helps us think about the fact that we have to go a bit deeper on all these things, right? And everything that we answer, everything that we do, everything we think about, it's easy to be surface with things, but to actually get any kind of results from stuff, we've got to get a bit deeper, right? So referrals are awesome, but we need to ask for referrals, which means we need to make phone calls, we need to set up times to see people, we need to just do pop-bys, you know, anything that might be, we need to ask for the referrals, right? Yeah, Marina.
Since my ideal buyer is also seller,
Mm-hmm.
I would door knock,
Mhm.
you know, and of course, retired people are home usually during the day, so it's easier to find them during the day, which I prefer working in the morning especially, when my energy is up.
Mm-hmm.
And because the younger generation, they all work, so you have to call them or get in touch with them in the evening mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't also work with me, so it's kind of, for me, ideal, again, back to ideal would be the retired community.
So you're door knocking.
Door knocking.
Yeah, fantastic.
Face to face.
Awesome. John, where are you finding your people?
Me, well, I need to phone my, I'm just thinking through, inspiring me to look at new ways, but I have a list of parents that have coached baseball, hockey over the years. So now I've had some good success helping, you know, them with their children's first condo. I'm gonna try to tell that story as a, you know.
I'm going to tell that story.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so
Awesome.
that leads, that's a good,
Database.
exactly,
Awesome.
story to tell.
That's great.
They can say no, but like, at least it's a conversation, I
Yeah.
can show success, future.
Absolutely. Roberta, where are you going to find your people? We're going to find those families that are educated, smart, motivated, and want to make decisions to buy.
Well, I found a lot of them through dance, through my daughter's dance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, you know,
You can-
those
can you
types
pay her
of
to continue
things.
to dance?
What's that?
You can pay her to continue with that.
Yes. You know, that was a big thing for me. Like my kids' activities.
Mhm.
And so I guess just, you know, friends and past clients have kind of let that slip,
The past clients.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
so.
That's a hard one, like, I feel like I haven't talked to them
Yeah.
for 2 years, so I can't phone,
Yeah,
which I shouldn't feel that way, but I do. I'm
yeah,
embarrassed to say,
I know.
sorry, I haven't talked to you for 2 years.
I have the same problem.
Everyone does. Every single person
Yes.
feels that way and they feel like they can't. And what you'll realize, if you think about your own lives, how quickly 2 years goes by, right? Like especially when you've got children in your lives, your life flies by. So when someone reaches out to you after 2 years, think of how much you actually have to catch up on and to connect on versus, I feel like an ass because I haven't called you. You know, the fact that you're actually reaching out at some point is the important thing, and you have so much to catch up on because it's been 2 years. So you have to be willing to kind of let that fear go and just pick up the phone anyways and call.
What if it's been like 7 years?
Well, then there you go. It has been 7 years since we have spoken. Holy smoke, I can't believe it. How are you guys?
What about saying,
That's me to knock on the door.
I really feel bad about not being in touch with you, you know, do you?
Yeah, life gets in the way and it's so busy and I'm focused and I'm reconnecting and I want to get out there again and reconnect with everyone and see what's going on and be back and involved. You
And
know?
it's the opposite of badgering though too, you know, I mean, I have the opposite thing where I hate to keep calling and talking, you know, and wanting business, so it's the opposite of that, really.
And another easy way to get back in connection with people and when it's been so long is to do like a happy 7th year anniversary. Can you believe it's been this long? So you can write a little handwritten note, send it to them, and then next week schedule a follow-up phone call on it.
I was actually gonna do the note
Yeah.
thing, like
Yeah.
just send notes saying, you know, it's been so long, I feel so bad that we haven't spoken, because I just don't have their contact information,
Yeah.
you know, for a lot of these people.
Well, and now with the new rules, right, we've actually got to get people's okay to be emailing them and sending them things. So the best thing you can possibly do is show up face to face. So start with a note. It breaks the ice. You feel a little bit like, okay, now there's a reason to call, you know? It breaks the ice a little bit and then you follow with a phone call.
Mhm.
Would you be okay with someone calling you after 7 years?
Sure.
Yeah. I think we all would, right?
I like how you never say I feel bad, like we both feel bad. And it's not that you don't feel bad, but you just don't, you avoid saying that, you
Oh,
just
yes.
say, I want to reconnect.
Yeah.
Time's flown by.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of negative, right?
Absolutely,
You always have to stay on the
absolutely.
positive side with this.
Absolutely. We got to stay on the positive side. Life has enough negativity in it all around us, all the time. I feel as an adult and as a parent, I'm seeing a lot more of it even. So the more we can stay in the happy side of things, then that will just filter through into every aspect of our lives, right? So it's really important to think positively. Yeah. How about everyone else? Where are we going to find the people? You're not finding any buyers. You're just sending referrals to your
No,
colleagues here.
actually, I mean, you'd wonder why I was here if I don't want to work with buyers, right? That's a good question, but actually, because I'm always learning and I want to learn more, is if anybody has ideas as to change my attitude about them, because it really isn't right for me not to call back.
You can just send them referrals and take 25% on everything.
Yeah, I could do, I
Yeah.
could do that, yeah, but I'd also like to change my attitude about like trying to turn them around. I mean, I'm a salesperson at the end of the day, so why can't I just turn them around to me feeling confident in them? You know, that's where I have no confidence in buyers because I know they're shopping this way and that way and they're looking for listing agents rather than because they want a deal and those. I just can't stand that kind of scenario, but I need to get over that. That's why I'm here.
But not everyone's like that. Go ahead, Brianna.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, but like in Trish's session on Friday, with that buyer package, you avoid the runaround. Like that to me was like my biggest aha. Like I am going to take that buyer package and I'm going to have that buyer package, and when I take a buyer out, I'm gonna say, here's the package, it looks professional. Like they're gonna think, okay, well this is business. Like I can't waste this person's time,
Yeah.
right? Here's the buyer package, read through it, sign it, and then, you know, we're gonna do our thing. We'll go out the first time and, you know, you'll get a feel for me, I'll get a feel for you, because yeah, like some people you don't wanna deal with, and some people I don't wanna deal with. So, you know, I just think that buyer package, it's just, because I have such an issue saying, oh yeah, well I need you to sign a buyer rep agreement, you know, like, and I don't ever do them. I never do them. I always do them after the sale, always. It's terrible business practice, but I feel bad asking for it, right? But I feel like with that package, I can just say, like, here's the package. It just adds like a level of professionalism that, I don't know, I didn't have in my business.
Yeah.
And
Well, so the most important thing that we can do in this business is have a meeting, a buyer's meeting with the prospective client before we start running around working for them.
yeah.
Because we need to set service expectations with the client that they understand they're going to be working with a professional. They're not just working with the run-of-the-mill. So when you sit down and review, and it's your whole, we'll talk about it today, is the presentation, it's the buyer package, and you review it with them. So in our practice, what we do in our business is we actually send it to them before the meeting so that they've got it. We ask them to read through it before they come to the meeting. And then when we get to the meeting, it's clear whether people have read it or not. Usually if it's a couple, one has and one hasn't because of personalities, right? But we highlight all the key things that we think are the biggest kind of nuggets we want to make sure we talk about with them, like the financial end of things, and things that are important to understand. And then right there at that meeting, we bring up the buyer representation agreement and we say, okay, in order to establish a working relationship with you and with us, and us representing you as a realtor, we're now going to sign this buyer representation agreement, and then we can get working for you right away. And we put it right in front of them, we read it all, we explain it. The little spots that they're going to initial and sign are highlighted. So literally the brain just automatically, you stick a pen in their hand, it automatically just starts doing this as you're explaining the pages and turning. Super done, all paperwork's done, you take a quick scan, email it to them, great, let's go look at the homes that we booked to go see today. So it establishes a rapport that sets you apart from the usual, sure, I'll jump and show your property.
Yeah.
Because all we're doing at that point, information is so accessible, and our buyers these days are so knowledgeable about marketplace, about everything, because they have access to everything. They don't need a realtor to go look at properties. They can do it on their own, technically, right? They can. So a lot of the times they're so up on every sale, all the details of the homes in the neighborhood, what's going on, all the information that if we are just opening a door, why are they going to see any value in paying us 2.5%, right? So we've got to help them understand that we are going to help them be safe. We're going to be able to give them the right information to make the right decisions, and we're going to guide them through this process in areas that they couldn't do on their own, because we are that much more knowledgeable, because this is what we do. Yeah.
Question, how do you get them into the, how do you so I get a realtor.ca thing.
Lead.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Thank you. Thing. So next step, from that, or are you talking about buyers that have been referred, which is a lot easier to work with than people who are just out of the blue? I think I'm talking about out of the blue. But how do you get from, and maybe we're going to get to that, is to the script as to how to tease out whether they are who you want to work
Qualifying. Yep, we will get to it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Can I
So we-
just
yeah,
add
John,
in
yeah.
there, just two things. One, Carmel has a really killer listing presentation, absolutely unbelievable. Just maybe you don't have the buyer one, which is what you're saying. If you can just get that, you will be
Turn it around.
magical. And on those calls, like we're salespeople, I don't do that meeting until, I always try to get a date. Let's go see some. And so I go see a few and then build a relationship. And then I go to that.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
She's better, she can do that, I can't.
But do you want to, I don't want to diverge too much, but do you want to even take them out once before you actually, you know what I mean? I know that's what you want to do,
Right.
but I'm wondering if you need to maybe even change that because your time is so important. That's where I'm at, kind of thing.
Well, what it does by doing the initial meeting is it allows us to set the whole expectation for the process and how it's all going to go. It puts us in the driver's seat, puts us in control. And that's really important in this circumstance. The goal is for our buyer, for us to guide the buyers, not for the buyers to guide us, right? So that's what the
So you could work with a
It
brand
does.
new person or somebody.
Yeah.
Really.
And all it boils down to in that circumstance is the script that you use. If it's a referral, it's completely different. If it's a lead off of the like a realtor.ca or something, then use a completely different script for that. And so that would be the key is having your scripts ready to go and managing it accordingly. But we do talk about that further. So I just want you to think about, as you discussed, who your ideal buyer is and all the different places you're going to find that ideal buyer. Okay, they're not just going to put their hands and say, here I am. We need to go out there and find them. Okay. Open houses are a great opportunity to meet prospective buyers. There's a bunch of people coming through, obviously, and saying, I'm potentially looking to buy a home. A lot of times people are just browsing, they're looking at homes that they can't afford, and that goes back to the whole qualifying, motivation, affordability, all that concept. John's had some really great success with open houses. What really works for you at open houses?
Well, that's my favorite, really, because they're coming to me, and I'm not badgering or whatever the word is for calling. So what I do is I try to connect with a person. So if I'm talking to you, I'll talk to you about the house, talk to you about, you know, where you live now, what are you looking for, all the basic questions, but I also talk about things I know about the neighborhood, which gives them knowledge that I know what I'm talking about. So building connection really is what I'm trying to do. And so when it doesn't happen with everybody, but if I happen to get that in 1 out of 4 people, that's pretty darn good. And then I create the opportunity to show them something, you know, having that next meeting. So my favorite thing to do is I at the end, when they're leaving, I shake their hand and say, I think we made a really great connection today.
So do I.
And they can't help but say, so do I, or yes, and you're not gonna say no. So I'd like to set up a meeting I'd like to find your next house for you. Can we get together this week?
How do you avoid, or how do you suss out whether they've got somebody, whether they've already?
You gotta ask the question. It's gotta be a
When-
direct
Yeah,
question.
so I don't, I want connection, I want the meeting.
Do you find sometimes?
I might have to ask before the meeting.
Okay.
I don't like any negatives, I don't want any no's, but you're right, you
But
should.
it's not a negative. Are you working with a realtor right now? Because
Yeah.
I'd love to be your realtor. I really like you guys, and I think I can help you,
There you go.
right? The buyer rep agreement is not a negative, it's a positive. It allows me to be totally confidential in everything that you're telling me and everything that we do. I can represent your interests. We're gonna share information. We have now become a team. We become partners by signing this buyer rep, right? So we, in our human heads, build up this concept of negativity around these little nuggets, but it's all our silly heads doing it. There's no negativity around it at all. Because the point is that you don't want to, number one, step on your colleague's toes if they're already working with someone, or two, put them in a position that's uncomfortable for them. So it's a straight up basic, hey, are you working with someone right now? Have you signed a buyer?
I figured they're gonna tell me, but you're right, they may not tell me.
Well, there's that whole saying buyers are liars concept,
Yes.
right? So we do
Yeah.
have to be careful and cautious, and at the end of the day, are we really doing our job properly if we haven't asked that question? We're not, right? So it's important to just, make sure we're following through all the things that we need to ask.
They may say no, but really they are working with someone else.
Well, if they're
But
willing to
also-
set up a meeting with you and then sign an agreement, well then hopefully they haven't signed anything else, obviously, but yes, it's good.
I like what you said, if you're not working with a realtor, I'd really like to work with you.
Yeah,
Like you just,
That's
and
great.
then, and that.
That's really, yeah.
It's better than are
You're
you
so
working
full
with
of
a realtor?
nuggets. They just spew out. I like that though. If you're not
15
working with an
years.
agent, yeah, that's much better than,
Yeah,
and
than
learning
are
from
you
my
working
mom.
with an agent?
Okay, so I'd say that the one thing I'm not seeing at open houses yet, and I'm just as bad for having not done it, I've talked about it over the years, but I really think there's not one realtor yet that has really done anything super fantastic at an open house. We're like, wow, that was really neat. That realtor really went the extra mile today. And I don't know what that means or what that is, but I think we've got a much better and bigger opportunity to stand out at an open house than we do right now. And I mean, it can start with basics of obviously, the super basics of being on time, making sure the home is totally ready to go, all plaster the neighborhood with your signs. If you've got 10 signs, get all 10 signs out. Don't just use 4. This is free advertising. Get them everywhere. We're not supposed to put them out the night before, leave them over, but you can always do what you want. They might get stolen by another realtor who's jealous, so just be aware you might be replacing them.
Doesn't the city take them though?
It's-
Or they
You
just-
sometimes do.
Really?
what?
I'd be worried that it was.
Yeah, the city can, but someone has to call the city. They have to come out. If on the weekend, it's usually other realtors, because there's realtors everywhere. So what I think we're missing an opportunity on is, okay, so one thing that is amazing that can happen at every open house, and it doesn't cost you any money, is partnering with mortgage brokers for your open houses. There are tons of mortgage brokers that are willing and happy to come out, and they provide all your printed materials for you. There's these mortgage brokers out of the Keller Williams Don Mills office, and they'll happily work with anyone, it's not just their office, where they brand, whether it's cookies or whatever it is that they're giving out of the open house, they brand everything in your name. So it's super professional looking and amazing, and it looks like you've done all this work, and it's the mortgage brokers that have done it all. So partnering with them is a great idea to kind of step things up that spiffy side a little bit. But I've also thought, like, what about making like a life-size printout of you at the front door that you put up at every single open house of you, and it's like you stand there like,
Oh my gosh.
welcome to my open house, you know, and like something like that, just something that's like, make someone giggle just before they walk into your open house, and look at the difference in change and how they're willing to communicate with you when they're inside, right?
I like that flag that we have, you know, open house flag. Which
Yes,
I saw,
yeah.
when I went to see her open house.
Yeah.
So, oh, look, where did you get this? Oh, it's in the office.
Mhm.
So we have a
So
flag.
they're those
Open house
flags.
Yeah.
It's quite tall, and you can put it out. They're here in the office. You just have to sign it out with the front desk, and it's easy to move it around your car and stuff. And you just put it outside, and it is very like noticeable that way because signs are low to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this flag is tall, so it's really noticeable. But getting your own branded flag, as an example, could happen. So start with the KW you want to use that, but you could always get your own. But I just feel like we have a better opportunity to,
Says
and
KW open.
we should be shaking the hand, and John just did it, we said,
I'm not sure if I saw KW.
but shaking every single person's hand that walks through that door. And I like to do it at the beginning, just to kind of establish, where I shake their hand, I introduce myself, I ask them for their name, and I hand them my business card. Every single person through the door, do it with them.
Do you remember their names?
If I have an interest in connecting again, I write it down right away.
See, my problem,
And
I get their name, and our first name is so important, but I always forget.
I go and I write it down and like what they were wearing and a few reminders so that I can be like, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
I did an open house with Irene that
Mm-hmm.
weekend after she did her presentation here. And she does that, like she shakes everybody's hand when she walks in. She'll say, I'm Irene, and then they'll say, you know, I'm John. And I actually said to her at the end of it, I cannot believe you remembered all of these people's names.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Like, there
how
were
does
like
she
10
do
people
that?
coming
I'm
in,
curious.
and as they were leaving, she was saying, okay, bye, John.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, Sam. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like, I did not remember one name.
Yeah.
I'm just like, my brain is.
Well, so that's a whole thing, and you have to figure out what works for your brain, right? So maybe it's, okay, I just met Frederica, she's got the longer curly hair. Frederica, curly hair. Frederica, curly hair. You know what I mean in your head? Like, you've got to do some kind of association so that when they're moving back out again. But yeah, Irene means business, and she's not there to spend 2 hours doing nothing. She is there to pick up clients and sell that house.
Yeah.
So she is focused, and she's making it happen, which means she's got enough in time to have breakfast, you know, eat properly, drink enough water, like really prepare yourself mentally, physically, all those areas need to be ready to go. If you show up, which we're all guilty of, like starving and like, you know, trying to run around, do a few things, whatever it is. And, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you're not going to be as successful, right? So we really need to plan ahead and be ready to go for this. Yeah.
She even started speaking Spanish to someone.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, really? Really? You even know Spanish? Like, jeez. What are you, Wonder Woman? You have to blow your cape
Pretty much.
I don't think.
I
like, you
couldn't
know, like,
believe it.
I don't remember either. But do you think it's wrong if we have like our board like here, like, you know, my name is, you know, and when they walk by, then you can just
There's a good idea. That
write
would
it
work
down
for
when
me.
they go in, right?
Yeah.
You still can write it down and
Yeah,
then
because you
can
can
always
have your
check your
business
notes.
cards clipped onto it, so
Yeah.
it's easy to shake a hand,
Yeah.
grab a card, hand it over,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than have them even sign in, now you can take their names and say, okay, and then there's the sign-in sheet. But I love that idea.
Yeah.
Thank
Because
you
it's very hard to forget. I
Yeah.
mean, easy to forget.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank them for coming, you know, the
Yeah.
basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, right then, you can kind of determine, okay, I like you, I want to work with you. You know what I mean? And those are the ones you're going to like highlight, make sure you're saying, talking to throughout the house, following up with as they're leaving, all that stuff. And asking, is it okay if I follow up with you? I'd love to reach out to you again and let you know what's happening with the sale or whatever it might be.
What I like doing too, if it's not too busy, if it's too busy, too many people, it's very hard. Like, you know, when they sign in, like I have them numbered, and then in my notebook, I write number one, let's say, okay, how many people, like, you know, what they were looking for, how they look like, and all that stuff. So I have some information, what they tell me. So if I look at my list of the sign in, I don't know who they are, like I wouldn't even know, like when they sign in, who was that again? So I go back to my notes and then I say, oh, these people, and then I start remembering.
You have to do
them.
whatever works for your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and manage it that way. But yes, you need to do something because we, usually need to write it down to remember something.
Might be a good idea just to learn a couple, 2 lines of Spanish, 2 lines of Italian. I mean, I just throw that out there.
Oh, I was like ready to sign up for Rosetta Stone when I got home. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, you know,
I couldn't believe
but,
it.
but you know, if they tell you nationality,
Yeah.
like if I know something in that language, I do say it, even though it's just, you know, string, a word,
Yeah.
only a word, like
Right.
Persian, for example, I know only 1 word, but you know,
They like
Works.
that,
yeah,
I
it works.
know.
It works when.
It breaks the
We
ice,
like
the
that.
smile
It
break.
Brings
They
the
like
smile to
Yeah,
your face,
yes,
right?
that's
We
right.
like to connect and speak
Yeah.
in some way, particularly if your language, if you don't even speak the English as a first language, or, you know, it's difficult for people, so if you can connect with them on that level, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. And use your cultural, familial, whatever it might be, because it's like people like that. When I meet another Greek person, I'm only like, my mom's Greek, my dad's Scottish. I'm not really Greek. I speak a few words, but let me tell you, if I meet a Greek person, I use my Greek words and I let them know I'm Greek, and I'm like in, like Flint, it's just like you're in, like it doesn't matter. So use those connections because it can change someone's willingness to trust you and to like you based on, even something like dance, for instance. You meet someone that mentions something about dance and you say, oh, I danced all my life. It shifts someone's kind of whole just image of you,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden you're connected because you have a common interest.
Yeah.
And that's huge, right? So if we can find people with common interests, then they're gonna like us a lot more. And we're gonna like them a lot more, ultimately, right?
So if I could just add as well, so sometimes they say, where are you from? Because you can hear the accent, and then you can relate to where they're from, or say, I've been there, or want to travel there, or whatever, that's another conversation.
Yeah. And sometimes you get why are you asking me that kind of thing, because they're uncomfortable being asked that, but most of the time, and even that you can turn around and say, oh, well, I know somebody if that, comes from there, that sort of thing. Just to be prepared for that, because some people do say, well, what do you mean? Where am I from? I'm Canadian, Yeah.
You don't like buyers.
The whole thing is they're just out there in the wind. They're in the ether. I don't know who they are, and that's this is great. So nobody's getting any referrals anymore.
You're into
No
them now?
more referrals from me, from me.
Yes.
Okay. I'm supposed to show a video, but it's not set up from here, and so I thought I would try Googling it, but I don't see it here. The whole concept now is how do we find those motivated people? How do we find the people that are like, okay, let's move in the next 3 to 6 months, right? And how are we gonna locate them and find them? A lot of what we just talked about refers that, relates to that, but it's the concept of, and we get to it coming up, qualifying the people. So we will get to it. Are you okay not watching the video, or do you want me to really find this? Okay, sorry, I don't know why it's not set up for me.
Do you want me to get Andy?
Sure, might as well, ask him, yeah. A big thing is us being knowledgeable and knowing our markets and knowing where we're working and what's going on. Because, at an open house or when you're meeting people, they're gonna be asking us questions. And so they've asked us a bunch of questions here that we can talk about a little bit. So like, how would we respond to these questions is the idea. If someone says, so if you're out, let's say you're at your kids are at dance class and you're waiting with the parents, and one of the parents says to you, well, what's available in my price range? What's our response to something like that? How do we respond to that? When someone says, you're walking through the neighborhood and one of your neighbors says, we're thinking of downsizing and moving, but, you know, what can we get, what can we afford? How are we responding to people when you're asking us a question?
I can definitely find that out for you. Why don't we sit down and, you know, I'll do some research, I'll prepare for our meeting, let's say something like that. But I would say set an appointment. I wouldn't just tell them right there.
Mhm,
Even though I know, I wouldn't.
mhm,
I would definitely try to set an appointment.
mhm. So what you're saying, Mariana, is then instead of having a professional real estate discussion in a unprofessional environment, the goal would be to take control of the conversation and move it to a meeting versus a just random discussion. So trying to establish our professionalism, right? Which I think is great in a
Because
perfect
doctors
world.
don't discuss things, you know.
Yeah.
And, so why should we?
Yep, absolutely. A lawyer wouldn't answer a question on the spot. A doctor wouldn't. You can just set an appointment. So what I like to respond with in circumstances, because people love to talk real estate all the time, right? Every place of yours. I would say I would love to chat with you about that because I've got tons of great ideas and tons of things I'd love to share with you. Let's make a time to meet next week,
That's a good.
right? Just to kind of move it to that realm. And now you know you've got a lead. Someone has asked you a question about real estate, they're thinking about it, it's on their mind, fantastic. You've got that lead, it's yours to lose. So follow up with them, make it happen, get the appointment, and move it to the next level. Right?
Which video did you?
Well, I've got 2 videos to show today. So one is Find the Motivated, and then there was a second one further along. That was the
So
first one.
we'll do
That's
show it today?
Find the Motivated.
Did I go there?
Your
No.
kids?
No, my daughter dances in Brampton,
Oh,
but
my kids was,
they went to Sean's, yeah. You know,
Coffee,
she-
coffee institute or something, isn't it?
What's that?
Coffee institute, or coffee dance school?
Yeah,
Is it?
there is one, yeah, I think.
My niece dances there.
in Brampton?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or
No,
used to be.
she danced at Joanne Chapman, and Joanne and Sean are very good friends. They've been in business forever, like forever. So, yeah, it's been a tough year. She just, you know, it's very hardcore. You know, it's like, I equate it to like the AAA level of hockey was the type of dance that she was doing. And she just said to me this year, like, I've had enough. I'm tired. I'm tired of being yelled at. I'm tired of being told I'm not doing it right. And I don't want to do it anymore. And I've asked her about 1,000 times, are you sure you don't want to dance? Are you sure you don't want to dance? And she'll say, we'll be at home and she'll say, I'm bored. And I'll say, well, what do you mean you're bored? And she'll say, it doesn't mean I want to go back to dance.
Yeah.
But it was a big part of my own social life. You know, that's,
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but that was like, I mean, I got a lot of business from dance. And I mean, aside from that, they're my friends, and I really enjoyed going there. I liked hanging out with those moms, and we had like a connection, right? And
I've heard so many stories about these dances. My niece's friend, daughter was doing it, and some of the stories are incredible, how they treat the kids.
oh yeah,
Well, yeah, it's interesting to hear what your daughter's saying. I don't want to yell anymore. I'm telling her to do it properly. It's like, why don't they shift how they're teaching?
Yeah.
And they'll keep a lot more people in it.
well, and the problem was she actually has a hamstring injury. And so they would say to me, okay, well, make sure she gets better and, you know, take her to physio. And so then we did those things, but then she'd go to class and they'd say to her, well, you're just babying the injury. Well, you know, and it was like, okay, you know she's not well. They've told us she has this injury, and yet they didn't sympathize with her. It didn't matter, right? It was like, you need to do what you need to do
Yeah.
to get the job done. And
Shocking.
Maybe your daughter just needs a break. Maybe she'll go back to it.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I know, but she's going into grade 9 next year. I don't think she's going to go back. And now she's discovered a social life, which let me just tell you, okay? I had a conversation with her on Thursday. I'm like, you know what? If I'm not okay with it, your father is definitely not going to be okay with it.
Sometimes if you back off, it does work wonders. Because
Yeah.
we forced my son to go through swimming lessons. to get, he's gonna be a lifeguard, whatever, for a
Yeah.
part-time job. And we forced him. 2 years ago, he says, forget it, I know how to swim, I'm comfortable in the water, I'm not swimming no more. This year, he started back up, he says, I wanna be a lifeguard. And we just dropped it at that for about a year and a half, we didn't talk about swimming or anything like that. He made a decision to go back.
Yeah,
So sometimes you just have to let out.
I know, it's true.
Is it your only
You can
child?
still hold
No,
on
I
to
know,
the dance moms.
I know, my son, he plays hockey, but,
Well, apparently you need to be frequenting the rink now.
yes, well, there's, that,
business connections.
the problem with that is that now he's, at a level where, or in an age group where they're playing that, his games are at like 9:15.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, 9:15, oh my God, I can't go to these games, they're too late.
Oh, there? Okay, good.
Tabs here, the first one and the second one.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, let's just see what this one is saying. Find motivate. Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And then I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded commands. When you get in front of the people face-to-face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end and they'll sign that contract and then you can move forward. The last step is you sign them up and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
Awesome. Was there anything there that spoke to you that you felt like you could incorporate into what you're doing?
I always forget to ask for referral.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they sign the contract, so ask somebody else. That's
Yeah.
I forget.
You should maybe just put some sticky notes, one in your car, one on your mirror where you're getting ready in the morning, one at your desk, so that you're constantly seeing it. Have you asked for a referral yet today? Right? And then as soon as your brain starts really being front of mind, then you're going to just do it automatically.
Could it be one of the questions on the assignment sheet? Just throw that out there.
On which one?
If this house isn't for you,
Open house.
do you know anybody else that might be interested in this house?
Sure. Why not? Absolutely.
What's his name then?
Yeah, who do you know that might want to buy this house? For sure.
I door knocked on a house, and the lady who answered and said her daughter looked at an open house nearby, and they liked the house, but they didn't like the smell to the basement. And if it wasn't for that smell, they would have bought that house. So her daughter is looking for a house in that immediate neighborhood. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing for sale in that immediate neighborhood. How do I go back do I even bother going back to something a little further outside the neighborhood? How do I follow up on that lead?
So now, right now you've only got the mother's information, you don't have the kids yet.
No.
So you want to like ingratiate yourself with the mother so that she's willing to give you the kids' information. And I would stay focused on the neighborhood they wouldn't want. I wouldn't start swaying. I would go in with sales information for the pocket and go back to her and say, hey, listen, you mentioned your kids were interested in the neighborhood and they were just worried about the smell in that basement of the house. I get that. There's a lot of homes around here that, you know, get water into them, and unfortunately over the years people haven't maintained them properly to keep the water away. You know, I know well because we live in the neighborhood and my wife and I were close by. I'd love to be able to share some of this information about the sales in the neighborhood and what's been going on to help educate your kids so that they know when the right property comes up how much they should spend on it. Is it okay if I reach out to them and so I can share this information with them?
Okay. Try to go back and reach out to the top.
Absolutely. You need a phone number for the kids. And the mom kind of giving you that referral base, someone that she trusts you, likes you, and wants her kids to be in your good hands. Right? When we get a new listing and we send out the new listing to our database via just an email blast, the subject line is, who do you know for this home or for this whatever home? Because you're sending it to people who aren't necessarily ready to move, but they know people who are. Absolutely. So that question of asking them who else is around is really important. What I noticed about this particular realtor that was speaking was it looked like she was reading from a script for a lot of it, but then when she was like, and then you get to embedded commands, and she knew her script, her embedded command script, she read it off like the back of her hand. Do you notice it totally shifted? Her ability to speak it and say it was like, it was totally different than the rest of the thing. So it's so true that the lines and the scripts and the embedded commands that we want to use on a regular basis to get the business and turn things around, the more we practice them, the more they become second nature for us, the easier they are to use in real life practice. So that's important. And again, practice them in the car, practice them in the morning, getting ready, looking in the mirror. Like, look at yourself. What does your face look like when you're talking to people, when you're interacting, when you're communicating? So that you know, because a lot of times we don't realize that we might kind of look sad or a bit negative on our face, and we think, oh, geez, why did that person respond?
needy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, exactly. Really think about how other people are seeing us is the point, right?
When I was in coaching with Mike Ferry,
Mm-hmm.
he's a lot on, getting the concept and calling people and that. And I actually had to buy a mirror, put it on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
So, and look at myself when you talk to the people, like, you know, so making sure you smile actually when you talk, because and I noticed that, and now it's a fact that if you smile, your voice changes, and they can notice that you're, smiling. Your voice is different when you smile.
Get rid of all distractions.
Yeah.
If you're about to make some calls, you need to get rid of all distractions. Ideally be standing up. Look at yourself in the mirror, put a smile on your face, and think of like really happy, positive thoughts, and then make those calls. Rather than, phone's here, coffee's there, hi, just thought I'd give you a shout. It's like, okay, that's really exciting, thanks for calling after 7 years, like, really appreciate that, Whereas if we show, it's a perfect time and a cheap thing to do when you go to No Frills and pick up a $1.99 pumpkin, to show up at someone's door after 7 years, put a little bow on it if you want to, and be like, happy Halloween. It's been 7 years since I've seen you, and if you give someone something, you feel better about it, about, that kind of time distance. People love getting gifts, and you just already feel like, oh wow, they feel like they owe you something already. So, so we're doing a pumpkin drop, and we're doing it to our A pluses and A clients, where all of them are getting a pumpkin from us. And we're just driving around and dropping off pumpkins and saying happy Halloween, and it's just a great, easy way to do your Popeyes and reconnect with people, okay? And to let people know, hey, I'm in the real estate business, right? So then it talks about some terms which I feel like we should all know. So like list of price to sale price. Everyone knows about the little stats button on Trev that you can click, and it gives you all your stats. It's super easy, quick, and you can give all of the kind of averages and Some people like to know, it depends on the client, right? But if they're really into that stuff, it's like, great, here you go. Here's all for the pocket that you're considering. And it's a great thing to have at a new buyer meeting too, if you have a sense of where they're going, because you've had that phone call ahead of time with them to say, ask them some basic questions so that you can be prepared for the meeting. And you can bring the stats with you, because if they're saying they want to spend $500 and you're saying, well, the average sale price in the pocket you're looking at is $850, we might have to refocus on where you're thinking about buying. And you're showing them the stats right there. It's like, oh, wow, okay, great, thanks. You know, so it allows you to be professional and have information really easily at the click of a button. Okay, so market stats, that talks about that, yes, price trends. Local information. If we know the neighborhoods that the buyers are looking for, we should know every school there is. If that's the target market in the neighborhood we're working in, okay? So things like every school, every daycare, every drop-in center, every gym, workout place, that's important to people. They like exercise and where they might be going for fitness. Every cafe and coffee shop, all the great restaurants, the dentist, like any service or anything in that pocket. It's all so easy for us to access now. I mean, you can obviously just go and walk the street and write everything down, but you can also just look online and get it all. Have all that information, yes.
So I was just going to add to that is I did open house for Werner, and he had the transportation path from Mystic Point, which I didn't even know. If you get on bus number X, goes up Prince Edward to Old Mill in 37, or whatever the 16 minutes, or you can take the Royal York, the Grand Avenue to Royal York. I thought that was great, and the distance to the go and all that kind of stuff, so transportation.
Absolutely. So thinking about the target market that you're working with and dealing with what's going to be important for them, what information do they want to have, and giving it to them so that you are the professional with all the information rather than them having to seek it out. So like, it's interesting, like if you're looking at a property, if you're showing properties and a school district is extremely important, you should only be showing them homes that match the school. And you just, on School Finder, 2 seconds, look it up and you'll know exactly whether it matches or not. And that's the kind of stuff we need to be doing. You need to know if a home is on a hydro line before you go to show it. And you can see on Google Maps whether it is or not. You need to know that a home is directly across from a hospital. You know, we need to know that there's an apartment building across from a house before you show up to show it, because you look like an ass when you show up at that house and your client's like, house is great, but I really don't want to live across from a 20-story apartment building. We should be able to know that first and be able to say to the people, hey, just so you know, this is what's going on in the pocket around there. Google Maps is amazing. It shows us everything we need to know. And if not, get out there and check it out first so that you are a professional, you're leading the path. They're not leading it for you. Because chances are, if they're interested in seeing a home, they've already driven past. You know what I mean? Like buyers, when they're hot to trot and motivated, they're on it and they're looking at everything. I had a circumstance yesterday. So Courtney, my sister's taking over the sales for our family, for the family business, and because I've got 3 little boys under 5, I'm a little more focused on that and things here at the brokerage and the teaching and the guiding. So I am helping a friend right now. One of my best friends wants to buy a house. And we have another friend in the group, there's 4 girls, who is like that super heavy on, like super online person that's like constantly checking things and on everything. So she like sends listings and leads to our other friend.
Oh God.
And it gets a little tricky because it's stuff that doesn't meet the criteria, right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, you're sending us on a wild goose chase, because the girlfriend gets so worked up, like, how come I haven't seen this one, what's going on with this one? Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. So yesterday, some Instagram post gets forwarded, and so right away she's like, oh my gosh, look at this house, we've got to get out and see it, it looks perfect. On the Instagram post, the realtor had it pinned to a street in Ronsonsvales, so it looked like it was on Galley. Well, of course, I text the realtor, I'm like, hey, you're bringing out a house today on Galley? He's like, no. I'm like, well, you're bringing out a red brick home today that looks really nice. He's like, yeah, it's over in Parkdale on Spencer.
Uh-oh.
Spencer and Galley are 2 very different locations. Spencer does not meet the criteria of my friend, but my third-party friend that's gotten everyone worked up has gotten everyone involved. So all I'm saying is, like, let's take the time to get as much information as possible and be on top of it so that the clients are being guided properly as much as possible, right? and hopefully keep the third parties out.
Yeah, how do you do that, by the way?
I had a chat with my
If you-
girlfriend, although clearly it didn't work that well. The other
Yeah,
girlfriend.
because you can go on a wild goose chase, yeah.
Yeah,
The third party girlfriend?
Yeah.
Or,
I
oh,
did.
you did? I
I
knew
told her to
you
lay off and let me manage things.
How did that go down?
She did, she's definitely taken a step back, but clearly she's still sending posts.
Yeah.
We'll get there,
Well,
we'll get there.
since, like, just quickly, maybe, like, I have a client that just sold a house, and maybe we all can learn from that, and now she wants to rent. And I have a problem with that, not only because I wanna make a sale, but because I think she's doing the wrong, she's doing wrong thing, like, she wants to rent instead of buying
Why?
a smaller condo, because she thinks she needs the money, all the money, to live off of it. So she's talking to a financial advisor. And so she wants to invest the money instead of buying something small and then maybe reinvest the rest of the money that's left. But all her kids are renters, they're renting. So, and so they give her that advice. Of course, she's gonna listen to the kids, right? And if I say something like, they think, oh, she just wants to make money. Which of course it's true, yet I really feel passionate about, like, I even want to convert the kids at some point to be a homeowner. They all have families, it's a homeowner, that's the future, right? For
Well, I
almost
wonder
every
if you
person.
could create a scenario for them. Okay, here's a 10 to 20 year picture range of what it looks like as a renter and what it looks like as a homeowner. And here's what you end up with at the end, and show them. And it's just simple and basic, like as a renter, you've got a big fat 0 at the end of it. And here as a homeowner, here's what you've been able to accomplish for yourself and the equity that you have, and what you can, number 1, potentially retire on, use as your retirement fund, or 2, pass down to your family.
There's no
So being able to show them the financials on that, and just keep it really simple and basic.
Yeah, she may not have anything at the end, right?
Well, at the end of the day, you can say the $12,000 that I might be making from this transaction doesn't change my life. But the ownership of this one property for your family changes your life dramatically,
Dramatic.
right? And
For all
shift
your
it that
family.
way.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about where they're living, what the landlord paid and what it's worth today? Right, so if they knew that, and that would be just like, I'm funding this for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the, is it the mother?
She's totally now, like, they thought, see,
No, sorry, just my question was though,
Yeah.
if you talk to the mother and say, well, you can rent if that's what you choose, but you could also, you give the money, give the down payment to your family so that they're all moving up and using all of these suggestions as well,
yeah,
Some people are
that's what I
just
thought about.
lifelong renters though.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I said, some people are just lifelong renters. They don't believe in.
Well, that's the other thing too, it's
Yeah.
really a personal thing.
It's a person.
You could try and convert those, it sounds like there'd be a lot
But
of
if
business
she's
there,
owned,
but-
yeah, then
The
her,
mother's only, like, they
Yeah.
grew up in a home,
Mhm.
but I guess the situation, sorry. But over time, it's, I don't know.
Who knows, you can decide whether you feel like it's conversion, but it might be worth doing to see, because if there's lots of business there, but if not, then
I guess
sometimes
it's,
you can't change people,
force.
right?
and,
yeah, you
and
can't
that's
we try and
enforce.
teach.
Yeah.
and when you have a financial advisor involved, telling her, oh, your money is gonna
Yes.
go, like, you need to have it in this, not in real estate, when the reality
That's
is
Seriously,
real
if you
estate.
would
Yeah.
say for
And
fun.
that's the financial
Especially if that's all
advisor is
she's
the
got,
friend
like-
of the daughter that she really relies on,
Oh, jeez.
so
Listen, there's only so much we can do.
there's only so much,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just, I have a problem, I really have a problem if she's going to rent instead of, because
Trade it off.
yeah, maybe, because this money is gonna go because
Yeah, but
kids are
Mariana,
all
you
like
need to
vouchers.
disengage yourself from this, because it's not your problem.
Like, she's
It's not
gonna
your
distribute
daughter.
this money,
I know.
and then what she's gonna have at the end.
Well, that's her choice. She's one of like the hundreds of thousands of millions of people that will be in that position.
And it's not like you didn't tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do your best to coach and guide, but at the end of the day, she's gonna make her own decisions.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one more thing, I'm gonna talk like this, and I'm gonna bring it to the house and say, show this to your kids,
Yeah,
because I can't get all 3 of them together,
yeah.
show this
Yeah.
to your kids,
Mhm.
you know, 10 years after.
Mhm.
Only 10 years. What you have.
Inheritance, put that word there,
Sorry?
inheritance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you can borrow money against the property if she needed to
If you
and
need, you can
reinvest. and-
always, like, have a line of credit or something.
But I
Anyways.
think the children wants to take
I
some
think so.
time. That's
It's
why
a,
they
it's a
are
short-term view,
afraid.
yeah, short-term
They have short-term
gain
view.
for, yeah.
Even though they're young, they have young kids. That's what bugs me, okay? But anyways.
Yeah, I know.
It's safer to be diversified, not everything in one location.
Mhm.
So not all in stocks or whatever. Have some real
Imagine,
estate, have
imagine
some
that, yeah. All
diversified.
up for
That's the
that.
safest way.
No, these kids who wants to have a share of it, the more the better.
Yeah.
That's why they're holding,
To
keeping
spend,
her.
not to
Yeah.
save, to spend.
Okay, so qualifying the buyer. A lot of times we'll get a call because they see a property online or, you know, if it's that kind of a call. So the whole concept is figuring out, number one, can they afford that property? What is it they're actually looking for? And are they in the market to buy now, right? And really making sure that that's actually the case. So what is it saying here? So when a buyer calls on a property they saw online or driving by, usually it sounds like an instant client, but often when they're doing that, the concept is that they have two kind of goals, either to eliminate the property to figure out because they want to know what the price is, they're driving past one of the price, or they want to eliminate you. That's if you've got a listing that sounds like you have an opportunity to potentially get a buyer off of your own listing. So what they're saying is that by having a buyer lead sheet, it helps you uncover if the buyer is able, ready, and willing to purchase a home. So you want to establish control of the conversation when a buyer calls by asking questions about price, motivation, location, wants and needs, timeline, finances, and availability. So those are all on this page here, on page 20, if you want to take a look at that. So Roberta, you talked about the buyer handbook that Trish showed you guys and reviewed with you. So the precursor to that is the concept of a buyer lead sheet. So a sheet that you have that you use as your pre-qualifying sheet so that you can determine their motivation and get as much information as possible for the meeting, so before you give them your buyer's handbook. On this one, so the pre-qualifying questions on here, this is on page 21 of Find and Win the Buyers. Has an agent taken you out and showing you any properties? And this is so you're having a phone call with someone right now, okay? And you're asking them these questions because they're a lead. If yes, how's that going? Is the next question. So again, this is just getting some feedback from them to understand where things are at. Is there anybody else buying the home with you? Who will be living in your home? How long have you been looking for a home? I'm just curious, why are you moving? So these are the pre-qualifying questions. This is kind of more about on cold leads, so on an internet lead or on a sign call. Are you renting or do you own a home now? Are you going to be paying cash or will you be getting a mortgage for the purchase of your home? What price range are you comfortable with? Is there anyone else who will be involved in your home buying decision? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 meaning you must buy a home as quickly as possible, and 1 meaning you're not sure you'll really buy anything, how would you rate yourself? Which is great to understand motivation. When do you need to be in your new home? And I'd love to help you buy a home. In order to help you find a perfect home, all we need to do is set an appointment. So I can help you get what you want in the time you want. What is a better time for us to meet? And then name a day and time so they can make a choice. And then you set the appointment. So this is a phone call, whether it's a buyer or seller. You have one for buyers, you have one for sellers. There's slightly different questions for sellers. But these are the questions that we're asking before the buyer consultation meeting that you set with them. So that we're going in prepared and know whether we should actually be setting an appointment or not. Does anyone do this right now?
I have done, yeah. And actually, I can think of 2 that I did. No wonder I don't like them. The 2 that I did, I spent time on them. And I brought them in here into the office, and we went through everything and nothing, It was quite amazing because I had spent so much time on it, So kept me away from them, but yeah, I have done it, though. Yeah. And it was good, I mean, it didn't lead to anything, they were just not the right people, you know.
I think you've got like this buyer pre-qualifying sheet, a bunch of them printed off, sitting in your office, because you're not going to return a call or take a call regardless, just randomly on your cell phone out, like at the soccer game or wherever. It's not appropriate. So, right, I'm just in an appointment right now. Is it okay if I call you back at this time today when I can sit down and ask you a few questions? Yes, fantastic, I'll call you then. And you just get out your sheet, there are all your questions ready to go. You call, you have 5 minutes to answer a few questions for me so I'm prepared when we meet. You ask these questions and you've got the basis for whether this is an actual real buyer that you're going to, one, want to meet with, and two, actually work with. So again, the key is just having it prepared, ready to go and use it. Okay, and again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I have to say in this business, when you start in this business, I find a lot of times you want to reinvent the wheel. So you feel like, oh no, that doesn't work for me, or it should be this way. But after my own experience of having done that, it's so not necessary, and it's a huge waste of time. And in this business, just follow the systems and plans that are already done, and they work. They totally work. And that's how you're going to build a systematized, much easier business than trying to reinvent the wheel. It's already done for us.
And
You have to do the work.
Going back to those two people, when I think back on it, it was a couple of years ago, I didn't make the phone call. They came in, and I didn't know anything really about their motivation or anything like that, so that was probably my mistake, or one of them.
Does anybody need a bathroom break or a 5-minute break or
Yeah.
anything, or do you want? Yes. Okay, go. Go, come back at 1:45.
Because they didn't have any numbers. It's just 16 appointments. 16 times.
There she is. So, I just want to make sure it's legal. So I think I was going to ask either for the firm or Adrienne or
Meaning legal, it's like if they,
not really supposed to, but I don't know if the rules change. Are we going to get in
it's
trouble
condo
with
rules,
breakup?
condo rules, right? It's condo rules. So I've done that before, and not in this building, not for open house, it was just delivering flyers. And what happened, somebody complained to the
Adrienne, we have a mutual
so management
acquaintance,
called me, and I
Nicole
apologized,
Emerson.
and that was it.
Do you know Nicole?
Yes.
Okay,
How do I know?
you are
Give me
contact.
some feedback on this
Yeah.
one.
She's an
So I
agent,
just said,
Royal
right, the
Page.
name they complained, and I
We're
was
on the floor
apologized.
right now.
Blonde hair.
That's what he said, but
I feel like,
I don't know.
Okay, so you're
Legal regarding recall.
Nicole, which Royal Page is she?
Lower West Village.
Forgot what I had with me.
Do you
The
want
basic questions, but
You probably know her to see
Do
her.
you want me to
Yeah.
print
She's
it
super
here?
sweet.
no, you have.
So when I told her I was coming to this office, she was like, oh, I know.
I get to stay. I could print it home.
That woman is so nice.
Last one?
Oh, where is she?
What's her
Nicole
name?
Emerson.
It's all, it's printed.
Emerson.
Last year.
Cut them out.
Yeah, I just see some.
And like
Yeah, sure.
It's not perfect.
Sorry.
So, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You need a little face reminder sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I know, I hear you.
1:32,
That's great. Yeah, she's really nice.
So you come,
Sweet.
Yeah.
meet you at the parking lot across the street.
Is that where you were before?
Okay, okay.
I've always
We'll
been
see
with
how it
Royal
goes.
Page,
Yeah.
yes. I wasn't with that office. I was at one point with the Bloor Street office, like in the Kingsway.
Yeah.
And that's where I met her. We did the meeting together.
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
A few years ago, so.
Oh, great.
Maybe come
But I've kept in touch with her.
And how long have you
for the.
been in the business for?
Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah.
9.5 years.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, let's see.
And whereabouts do you live?
Not that great.
I live in the West End. I live in Mississauga.
Okay. Yeah.
If you
ones.
I'm just
And
kidding.
where are you doing your
Oh, I
business?
didn't hear. Sorry.
We're gonna invite everybody
I do it
to
at
lunch.
Woodland, yeah. Like,
Yes,
I'm all
but
over the
not
place.
Oh.
I'm trying
Just
to, figure some things out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start farming, so I've started a farm, which I've since stopped. They only did one, farm before me, like one distribution. And I was talking to them yesterday, I said, just wait. Cause I was gonna do, like I'm sticking more in Etobicoke.
Mhm.
I was gonna do like Rathburn and Renforth area. There's a little pocket in there that I thought would be good. My dad owned a business in that area. And it was a very successful business, so I thought maybe I could like leverage that, you know, because they might recognize my name. But I do this, what's it called, a newsletter, and that area is taken with this company that I do it with, so now I've got to kind of figure things out, like where am I going, what am I doing? I do want to farm, I need to focus on an area. I've been successful with farming in the past, so I need to get organized. Like I'm like 9 years in this business and I'm just not an organized person. I don't have a database, like I should be established and doing well.
Well, don't worry about should and that kind of stuff, because ultimately life happens, and
Yeah.
your mom, there's other things that happen, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you're now finding that you're at a point where your kids are more independent, so you've got a bit more time and can get focused.
Yes,
so-
yeah, that's, yeah.
Right, so you're taking charge of the situation at hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it ebbs and flows,
I know, yeah.
as we know, and I feel like you don't really even know until you're in it, what it might be or how it's gonna go,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've had successful years, like very successful years, and then I've had like really bad years.
Yeah.
So, this year is not great,
Mhm.
but my focus was kind of somewhere else. And so I was just, you know, I had a conversation with my husband a few weeks ago, and I said, you know, I need to focus on real estate. Like this is the business that I know I can do well in, and I know I can make a lot of money in, and I'm just all over the place, like,
Yeah.
you know? And I said, that's it, like, I'm not gonna be here, there, and everywhere. You know, I'm gonna be doing this. And so, but I'm trying to figure things out. Like I wanna do some branding. And I can't really find anyone to do it. Like I don't know where to start with that. Anyway, so, because I feel like once I do that, then I can sort of start getting everything else organized.
Yeah.
But,
So, it's interesting that you're saying it that way, because a lot of, I find out it's like a lot of new agents get into the business and they feel like they can't do anything until everything's branded perfectly, and this is that and that's that, right? But we always like help them understand that like that comes later. That is not the important part. You are what matters. People aren't working with you because they go, oh, look at this brand. They're working with you. They're working with Roberta. So if you're out there face to face and making stuff happen, then that's how the business comes in. Then you've made a bit of money. Now you can afford to brand yourself,
yeah.
right? And basically as human beings, we put that whole idea of needing to be branded in front of getting the business done to actually make the business happen, and it stalls us. It totally stalls you. It's like you can't get going
Yeah.
because you feel like this piece is missing. It's like, okay, put all that aside. None of that matters. All that matters is like boots on the ground.
But you know, I look like, for instance, the buyer package that Trish has, right? And I'm sure your buyer package. Like, how am I gonna give a buyer package when I don't have the branding? Like when I don't have the package to give?
Yeah, so you just take mine or Trisha's and you put your name on it. Right? It's that simple. It's that basic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What will
it
be-
really is. With your picture on it.
Yeah.
And
Right?
then, I'm sorry, I want to
Okay.
see the open house for agents, which Danuta gave us. I might have someone.
It's okay.
So she's there till 12:30 only, that's why I want to.
Go see you later. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I feel like just make it all way more simple and basic.
I know.
And
You're
just
right.
do it. So if you're saying you're okay, I'm ready to get focused and ready to make this happen, you need to write down like the 3 things that you're going to do that are actually going to make it happen. So I'm gonna pick my neighborhood, even if someone else is sending out a newsletter, because there's other people that send newsletters, or I could probably do this on my own, save the cost and spend a bit of time making up this basic newsletter and getting it out there. You know, so there's some options there.
See, I will not do that.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
Okay.
Like, that sounds great in theory.
Yeah.
I'd love to make my own newsletter.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, like, I need to be realistic about,
Yeah.
that's why I've hired this company
Yeah.
to
Which
do
one?
it, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
I
Mission
searched
response.
for-
Yeah.
I've used them before, and they're great, and
Yeah.
like, they,
He's great, yeah. Andy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've used Morris as well in the past.
Mhm.
So
So he I mean, they know what neighborhoods are available.
it's not available,
There's
that
nothing
particular.
available right now.
Well, there is, like, so we discussed Westine, like that area,
Yeah,
that's available.
yeah.
I'm not looking to
So
do a
you-
big, you know, amount of homes, I'm
Right.
looking for around 500.
Yeah.
I need to keep it like somewhat
Oh,
manageable.
yeah, you mentioned.
So then what about taking Westine if it's available?
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, I know, I'm overthinking all of
Yeah,
these
you
things,
really are.
right?
Yeah, she's okay.
I like Westine because I like the price point, the houses are nice,
Yeah.
I feel like there's
There's a lot of
probably,
change happening there right now.
My
yeah,
other daughter,
Take it,
2 years
and then be
old.
like, okay, I've got my focus, I know where I'm going. I'm gonna take the buyer's package and change my info. I'm gonna take the seller's package, change it, put my info on it, and just get out and start knocking on doors.
Works in
Because the
restaurant
mission response stuff, if you only send out mission response, it'll take at least 3 years for anyone to like
I know.
really call you.
So when
You
knock
have to
doors,
knock
what
on
do you leave
doors.
behind?
Pardon me?
When you knock on
No, it's
doors, what do you
really
leave
neat.
behind?
It's Barb, Alvar,
Newsletter.
Isabel.
Your business card?
Just the business card?
Sure.
It's a cool new thing.
Really, that-
You want them seeing your face, your information.
Yeah,
You don't need anything.
Not even a
You
postcard.
need,
exactly, wood.
sure, a bit postcard, but the goal is for them to like you and want to like connect with you again. So the more you're knocking on their door, the more you're talking to them. So it might be that you plan to go out like monthly,
Yoga,
and every month,
meditation.
at the end of the month, hey, I'm just here to update you on the market stats and what's going on in the neighborhood. And here's what's sold, here's what's happening, here's what's happening in the market.
He's 6'5".
It's your monthly visit, I'm back, you know? Why not?
He's 22, yeah. He's great.
So look at when your newsletter would be hitting the
I'm so
market,
old-fashioned, like
right?
degrees.
and time it 2 weeks later. So every 2 weeks, you're seeing something from you, whether it's your face or whether it's your
Not
newsletter.
when you're 22, it's when you're 50.
They'll own it if you do that.
Well, I've set up a postcard, like I think I'm doing a postcard as well. So yeah, every 2 weeks, they're gonna get my newsletter on the 1st, and then on the 15th, they're gonna get my postcard, and then, you know, so I've set it up so that every 2 weeks they get something from me. And then on my own, I'm gonna do other things, right?
Yeah.
85.
Yeah, I'm gonna door knock, but I was telling John, I do this really, this fun thing at Christmas time, I drop off, I go to the dollar store and I buy Christmas wrapping paper, and I put a little tag on it that says wrapping up all of your real estate needs, and I leave it on everybody's doorstep, and people love it, like they just love, I mean, so like 500 houses, okay, it's $500, like really it's not that big of an investment, but people love it.
She's doing it.
Yeah. Christmas is so easy to do something, Easter, you know, any of the little holidays, it's easy to do those things, and it's a nice way to get out and see people. Get your kids working for you, get them helping you drop things off.
Yes,
Right?
I do.
It's a great way, and then you can pay your kids too, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't pay them. I say,
I know, but
Come in.
according to the government, you can pay them.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Cyber
Oh,
stuff.
true,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
My parents did that since we were like 6. Getting paid.
Yeah, well, yeah, makes
Why
sense.
not?
Yeah, of course.
It's a write-off,
You know,
yes.
it's like a runner,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yeah, so get over yourself and do it. Little missy, honestly.
Are there tools to make your own flyer, or do you have to have?
Oh, it's all,
I know,
no,
there
Rob
is.
Williams, just log in, it's all ready for you to go, and you put your own picture and your own name, and it's done.
But the
They're
content.
awesome.
but there's no newsletters.
Yeah, there's newsletters.
On there, on the website?
On KW, there's newsletters. There's newsletters on there. There's also newsletters on any CRM that you might use.
Portion?
The newsletter would be, no, if you just search, there's so much content, guys, in the KW.com, like, there's so much content. The other way to get newsletters would be to just like ask a few realtors if they do newsletters and be like, hey, do you mind sharing your newsletters over the years with me?
I got a good one from the staging woman.
Wow.
Agent.
That's like saying, who's that?
Our-
realtor?
An agent that works here.
Oh, Melanie Knight?
Melanie,
Yeah.
You should see her, she's a nice newsletter. Well, you have good ones as well, but I seem to be on her list.
Yeah, so again, and that's another thing, get on every realtor's, like, realtors that send stuff, like, get on their list and get all their stuff, and then just steal from them, like,
Don't
take
you
the
have a stager as
information.
well?
Hmm?
Don't you have a stager as well?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we staged,
Yeah,
me and a friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
really good stuff.
Okay, so, back to this for a minute, something to do with database, and when we've got clients and buyers, is rating them so that we can kind of decide who to communicate with on a more regular basis versus a sometimes basis versus a, okay, I'll just put them on a drip program concept, right? So if we've got buyers that are able, ready, and willing to purchase and like make something happen in the next 3 months, well, they're gonna be our A buyers. They're gonna be like people that we're in daily contact with and connecting with and doing stuff with. People that are, doing something, but maybe something has to happen in order for that change to happen. So they're ready to go if A, B, and C lines up. So maybe there are B clients, and so it's like, okay, we're gonna put you into Bs, and that means we're gonna be in touch monthly, And then our C people are no immediate plans, but would be interested in talking in the future. Well, they're our C clients, so they're the ones that just go on a every year check-in, let's say, maybe every 6 months check-in. And this all happens through our CRM, so our database management program, where Jane and John Doe are in with their address, and then put them on Plan C, buyer Plan C that you've created. That's just a reminder to connect with them biannually. So every 6 months, a reminder comes up and says, oh, call Jane and John, how are they doing, check in. Okay, so again, there's always a bit of work going into the initial setting it up, but once it's set up, it just runs and functions for you. Financial end of things, we're not financial advisors, we're not mortgage brokers, but we should definitely have a good understanding of all of that, how it works, what goes on, what are the rates, what are some alternative types of lending that might, be available to people. So get in communication with your lenders that you'd like to work with. Have a coffee, have a lunch, ask questions, have them send you updates. They have newsletters that you can just send out to your clients that all about financials, which people love. Keeping them on top of things, use their materials, they're happy to help. And again, have a few different people. Have someone that's just a mortgage broker that's separate from the big banks, have someone at the banks, mix it up a little bit. There's tons of opportunities out there for people for financing. Yeah.
I was just gonna add, with my condo, parents, condo buyers is 24. She wants to spend $1,500 a month, so I'm starting to build charts. If it's 325, it's gonna be this mortgage, this maintenance, this, utilities, taxes, and that way she can see what it comes down to. So we can afford a 380 place if the maintenance is 250. You can afford a 310 place if the maintenance is 495, stuff like that. So she's really appreciating that.
And there's tons of those calculators online that you don't have to, again, reinvent the wheel. So just find one that you really like to use and have it your go-to so that you know how to use it quickly and it's accessible. There was that new app that my girlfriend told me about. I don't think it's new, actually, probably. It's Canadian Mortgage app, it's called, and it looks like a little greenhouse with a red leaf on top. Canadian Mortgage app. The little left-hand greenhouse one there.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't used it. She loves it, and she's the one that's on every app and knows all this stuff. So it's something, again, like to have it on your phone and accessible is great. Get your clients using it as well, for instance, but just pick one that you like and use it. Because the more up you are on numbers, the more you can actually help your buyers understand the whole picture rather than kind of it being a gray area. And it keeps the open communication. You have some buyers that they don't like, especially the husbands don't like to share all the information. And it's like, hey, listen, more I'm in tune with everything going on, the better I can help you and keep you safe in this process. If I don't know, if things are happening behind me and I don't really know, then I can't really work for you to the best of my ability. So having all the information is important. And you know, the other thing too is refer the mortgage brokers to people. Maybe they'll use their own. Ask, is it okay if I connect with your mortgage broker so that we can be in tune and in line with each other, so that we can help you buy the home you want to buy, especially in today's market where sometimes homes come up and sell in a day and we need to get an appraisal or have some information. If mortgage broker and I are aligned, we can be a better team, all three of us.
Do you ask for their documentation, whatever letter they've been?
I haven't gotten to that level personally in the marketplace. It's not a bad idea, but again, I feel like I like having just the verbal contact with the mortgage broker and having the conversations with them, because you're getting it right from the horse's mouth versus the client. You can decide based on your level of trust with that client, communication, what you might need. But to be able to show up at for instance, at an offer situation, in a multiple situation, especially when it's going over the sale price and people are concerned whether it might appraise, with a mortgage approval saying, hey, look, my clients are totally capable of buying your home, here's their pre-approval, it might give sellers the more confidence in taking your offer over someone else's. So it could be a tactic.
Literally showing it to them? Like, is
Why not?
So that's not a, the price.
Your buyers would say, yes, use this as a strategy to help us buy the home today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it could be a strategy, right? It gives everyone confidence that it's actually happening. Is anyone using scripts right now? Has anyone got a script they specifically use? No?
For buyers, not for buyers.
Not for buyers, okay. Do you find that there's any problems having your buyers get pre-approved? Does anyone push back on that, or is everyone doing it?
Don't really do it.
Sorry?
I don't really do it. I don't really ask about their
I mean,
financials.
if
Right, you kill me.
the prospective buyer would push back,
Yeah,
if they push back, then they're not,
yeah,
If they
so
don't
are you
answer
finding
the
that's happening though, or do you find your buyers are getting pre-approved? You know, yeah. You're new. John?
I don't know that I asked it. I should ask.
Really?
I just
John.
assume if they're looking, they should know.
That's
Oh my gosh, you
going
guys, you
on.
kill me.
Seriously, I feel bad. I
Okay,
want them
we
to
need to
think.
erase this whole feel bad business and assumptions, because that's all bullshit. Professionals do not assume anything. They don't feel bad about anything. They want all the details and facts so that they can best work for those people.
I don't want someone to think that I'm prying into their financial situation.
But if they're looking for you for professional help in finding a home, you need to understand the whole picture, because otherwise, what are you doing? You're just running around for someone who maybe can afford $500, showing them houses for $1.5 million.
Well, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Not assuming, guessing.
So, in order to be professionals in this business, there's no assumptions, there's no guessing, there's none of that. We need to know. And the only way to know is to ask the questions. It's simple, it's basic. They're all good questions. It's good to know.
Doesn't the majority already have a pre-approval?
No.
A lot of them are just going blind, not knowing really what they're
Pretending.
Yeah.
So let's get real here. A lot of the times, the wife decides they need to move, husband's not really on board. So wife starts looking at homes and dragging husband out to look at homes. There's been no financial approvals yet. There's no information. She's really clueless about their finances anyway and isn't really sure what's going on. She would just like to live in these beautiful homes because she's ready to move. Well, hey, hi, let's get real here. If you actually want to make this happen, let's start with A. Let's not start at G, right? Let's start at the beginning. So yes, let's pre-qualify, let's understand, let's know, let's ask the questions. If we do all that at the beginning, we're going to make our jobs a lot easier, and they're going to have a much better experience, right, than they are if we haven't done it. So absolutely, the pre-qual, and as you'll see in the buyer meeting, that is number one. And actually, we don't want to even have the meeting with them until they've had the discussion with the mortgage broker and they've had that initial. Because it's until you've done that, there's no point in meeting with us because you're not ready yet. You're only ready until you understand the financials. So yeah, it's really important. Because think about yourselves, would you go buy a house without understanding the financials?
That's why it's so weird to me. You need to know before you even approach a realtor.
You should, but that's not how it works. It's not life, right? That's not how it really happens, yeah.
So is it, okay, so if they have their pre-approval and it's that's all done, when would you never bother with a finance condition, or when? I mean, it depends on if it's not an offer night, but like, would you talk to the mortgage broker first about that?
So,
About waiving that?
Yes,
Or just
absolutely. You want to have a very good understanding about what your parameters are. Yes, because in this marketplace, as we know, unconditional offers are usually what buyers are having to do. Not always, but 95% of the time. So you need to understand the parameters, and if they're anywhere close to that threshold, well, you might be needing to use it, obviously. But if they're not anywhere close to the threshold, then I never use it. Yes.
One of the things, though, that is really important is that pre-approval is not approval, and it also has to be, the house has to be appraised, not just them. So we got a few things going on, that it's not about pre-approval. Great that they've done it,
Yeah.
You have a broad range, but you have to be very careful about them saying we're pre-approved and hey, you think they're approved. Not true.
Correct. There is a bit of risk that the buyer has to be willing to take and understand that they're taking if they're not putting a finance condition on, obviously, because in today's marketplace where the market shifted a little bit and people might still be buying over the asking price, the bank might say, well, sorry, we're only valuing it at this, therefore the buyer has to come up with more money to put down on the purchase in order to make the financing happen. So can they access more money or not? And you need to know all of those things so you can help them make the best decision. Because otherwise, we could be setting them up for major failure.
Well, it just happened to me 2 months ago. Just as I was getting on a plane to go away.
Of course.
Yeah, and the agent came across as being.
So you were representing the seller?
Yeah, and the agent came across as being, over the top. Of course, which should have been a red flag anyway. But she knew exactly what she was doing. She was a long time in the business. She had it all worked out, and she was very abrasive right up to the moment I got this email saying, we have a big problem, or I have a big problem, can you help me solve it, is what happened. So, and it was really difficult on the seller because they had earmarked every dollar, and now they end up, and of course, I don't look good, she doesn't look good, the seller is pissed off, and they're gone now forever, I mean, the thing hopefully will close, it's supposed to close the 23rd of October, but it's really an awful situation.
What happened?
Well, she said that the house didn't appraise. Well, the last one sold for 100,000 more, and we just took into account the fact that the market had changed at the time. Her people didn't appraise, is what the problem was. So you can see how serious, really so upset about that.
And that's the thing, and that's where we're really failing as a professional if we haven't done all this pre-work, because it's not just the one client that we're working with, there's all the other parties that are involved in this, right?
Well, it's a domino effect.
It is a huge effect,
Yes.
exactly. So that's why the onus is on us to do our homework and do it well, so that everyone coming to the table is ready to go and they're serious, they're motivated and qualified. This is happening a lot more, when people are it could be that they're feeling like I overpaid for it, and so now I don't want to qualify for it. So who knows what they're saying or what's going on, but as a listing agent, the onus is on us to have it in our plans where it's scheduled. So we've sold a house and it's firm, it's 6 days out from close, so right away you put them on a 60-day closing plan, and it's like every 2 weeks, follow up with the buyer agent. Because appraisals, when do appraisals happen usually?
Yeah.
The day
Like
before.
a week maybe
yeah.
before closing.
Yeah.
What the heck? The banks should be calling this as soon as the deal happens. Get it done, get it worked through. Buyer agents, half the time, have included the fact that they should be following up with their clients on it. So buyer agent, selling agent, just do all the follow-ups on all sides. Be in contact with all lawyers, all parties, and just making sure, hey, let's make sure this deal closes, because you don't get paid unless the deal closes, right? You're not going to get paid. So make sure that you're doing things preemptively rather than reacting afterwards.
So you're suggesting that we call the buyer agent to get control as to when this appraisal, could it be speeded up, happen a bit sooner? if we
Hey,
put it on
Frederica, how are
the phone?
you? How are things going? Oh, it's been a week now that we've closed on the house, and I'm just following up to find out if your buyers have scheduled the appraisal for their mortgage.
Okay, so getting them in.
Oh, I don't know. Well, would you mind calling and checking in? Because let's get through that now to make sure that we can help our buyer and seller close this deal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
even more than a week,
Definitely makes it easy.
3 weeks.
No, like a week after firm.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
oh, right away.
No.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Get this done, guys. You do not get paid if this doesn't close.
Yeah, even from experience not too long ago, it was a conditional offer on financing. And I said, so how much the buyer has the down payment, right? Because the deposit was a little low. And she said, what do you mean? For now they have only 10,000. I said, no, the down payment. And then she said, I don't know, but I will ask. So she actually came back and she said, well, they have they're paying down 50%. So it's good, but it's good to know, especially
course.
if, can they afford this house?
She should have known that though.
She should have known that.
At the table,
That's
she
why I'm
should have been able to
asking.
answer that.
She should be able to
You
answer.
should know how much cash they have available to them.
Yeah.
You should know where it is.
As a buyer's
Is it-
agent.
One of the, where is that money? Is it in TD or is it in PC? Because if it's in one of those locations, one doesn't work for us for making the deal happen and really quickly. You know where the money is. Is it accessible? Who can get the money out? You or your husband? Who's accessing this money? Is it coming from parents? Is it coming from RSSP? RSP? Where is it? And we should know all of these details because that's how we can help them the best.
And that's not being nosy.
No.
That's being professional.
Absolutely.
So sorry, that hard, I guess I'm getting, so so we've called the buyer agent and we've scheduled the appraisals happen. How long should it take? Are we gonna hear that this appraisal?
Follow up next week. Follow up every week.
So a week.
Yeah. When the appraisal happens, the bank gets a report back within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
And so then they now need to start working on it. And again, it gets lost in the paperwork. So, okay, great, let's follow up with the mortgage broker now to get them on it and make this happen. Because a lot of times they'll drop the ball. They go on holiday. They do this. They're employees, so they're not necessarily that interested, right? So,
Yeah.
yes,
So
constant
you mean,
follow-up.
From a seller's perspective, you as their selling agent would look good, you don't have to say, well, I followed up now and we've heard that they're.
Absolutely. It's a touch point for you to let your seller know, I'm working hard to make sure this goes through and closes for you. Absolutely. You should communicate every single thing that you do for your sellers because otherwise they have no clue what you're doing and they think that you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you have to let them know every single thing that you're doing.
And one of the false I thought everything was fine because actually it was conditional on financing. So, and I got the word back that they were fine. So, but that was a mistake on my part, just feeling good about the fact that, well, they did get that opportunity. It wasn't like it was just a quick thing where they went in without a condition. They actually had the condition. So that even makes it worse, is that they were already approved, pre-approved, they got approved because the financing clause was removed, and then 2 weeks later.
Waiving financing doesn't mean that they've had an appraisal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not how it works. So that's where you can say to them, hey, it's conditional right now, let's just get the appraisal done now at the time, which is when it should happen. Because that's the value of the house today, not 2 months from now.
Yes.
The appraisal should be happening at deal.
That time, yeah.
So as a listing agent, it's the onus on us to say to the buyer agent, and as the buyer agent, we should be just doing this. Ask for the appraisal at the same time, especially if you've got a conditional period anyways. It helps you and it puts your buyers in a better position.
Can we put a condition in there on appraisal as well?
Sure.
Yes, I did
Absolutely.
that. I did that a couple
Absolutely.
weeks ago. I did an offer,
I'm
and
saying
it
more
was
often.
it was not conditional on financing, but it was conditional on the appraisal.
Yeah.
And you were the buyer agent?
Yeah. And the
But as a
appraisal
seller
went through no
agent,
problem.
Could
He didn't have a problem with it.
Why not? It makes everybody, it
Agent.
puts everybody in a better position. And it's
Yeah.
actually more real than in a pre-approval.
But as a
Yeah.
selling agent and our listing agent, then it would be a good idea to put that in the notes for the brokers, for the agents, is to say appraisal condition required.
No, as a selling agent, it would be a good idea to put in Schedule B.
Yeah.
The buyer is aware that the home might not appraise at the price that they pay for the property, and is able and capable of following through on purchasing the property if this appraisal does not come out at sale price. You know what I mean? Like a comment like that.
Wouldn't that be a pretty sort of scary thing though for a buyer to see that and say, well, why wouldn't it approve? Why wouldn't it appraise?
Well,
If
if
they're
they're
paying
concerned
the
about it, then they might not offer and it's not your right buyer,
Mm,
right? If they're not concerned and know that this is the reality of the marketplace right now,
Yeah,
and it's okay because we can afford it.
yeah,
And do
it's
you,
quite the thing.
and do you go to, okay, so as a listing agent, would you go to the appraisal access appointment?
Sure.
Yes. With your.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bring
So
the
you
comps,
Yeah.
Bring the
hand them to
comps.
the appraiser, and be like, here you go, I made your job really easy. You don't even need to log in and look at anything anymore.
they're
Here are
so
your
grateful,
comps.
yeah.
They are,
They're
and they'll
grateful.
use them.
And they
Honestly,
use them.
they will use them. So absolutely, go and
Because
feed
he
them the
doesn't-
Guide them.
Yeah, appraisal, they usually
Yeah.
have licenses, right? So they
Yeah.
have
Yes.
real estate licenses. But they don't see the homes that, as we do, right? So we know more.
It's very
what's
different. They're
going
more
on.
analytical.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and this is great, like
So it's
as
not
much
just-
as I can, I go to the appraisal, like I'm there.
As a
the
listing
appraisal.
agent or a buying agent,
So
just
not
do it.
just a buying agent.
Be in touch with everybody. Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely, guide, and then that puts you, again, you're controlling everything, you're controlling the whole process, so that's all going the way that it should go for your client. Yeah,
Even lawyers too, I remember my first few deals, I was afraid to talk to the lawyers. Once you start talking, they actually appreciate your help and conversations.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a good
Tell
habit.
them, is there anything you
Yeah,
need
good
or I
help.
can do?
Exactly. They love that.
So we've got our perfect buyer and who we want to work with. We figured out the tasks that we need to do to find them, whether it's door knocking, whether it's running an open house, whether it's looking into our database and connecting with people on the phone through our database. We've now connected with a potential person that wants to buy, and we want to get the appointment, right? So we want to get them in for the appointment. So we can use our pre-qualifying script, our pre-qualifying buyer script to ask them questions. Great, we've now set the appointment, and they're coming in to meet with us, okay? So they're gonna show up here to have a buyer consultation. And this is usually our first face-to-face with these people. So instead of going out to show them homes, they're actually meeting here at the office. And I always find that's the most professional, best way to do it, to get them out to the office, because it sets the tone for how they're going to view you and view the whole process. So they've now come in and you're about to sit down and have the meeting with them. As I mentioned, we've already emailed them the buyer's handbook, our buyer handbook, and then asked them to read through it before they come meet with us. Again, it shows motivation, you know, if they've done it, which is great. So now they've sat down and everyone, they all, usually people work, right? So they printed it off at work and they've reviewed it and they bring it, we asked them to bring it with them and they do. And again, this is showing a bit of that concept of us leading and controlling the process. They're doing things that we've asked them to do, so they're obeying our commands, which is a big part of controlling the process. And don't look along those words, obey or control, as negative words. They're not. Again, buying a home is an extremely emotional process where there's so many emotions that go on that it can make people go, I'm not even supposed to use the word crazy anymore, so I'm not trying to use different words, but you know what I mean? Like your emotions can control you, which makes your ability to make the right decisions can be very shadowy and shaded at that moment. So our job is to keep even keel, to stay in that position of, I'm totally cool and collected. I have all the information that I need to help you safely make the right decisions for you and get you there. And that's our job. So all these words that I'm using are just ways of describing how we're going to make it a better process for the buyer, okay, or the seller, whatever client you're working with at the
Can
time.
we use that same script as for turbulence? Good.
Absolutely.
Good, right?
Yeah,
You can tell them, I don't know if they've heard.
Yeah, so a good script is, and you've heard me say safe a bunch of times, and that's something that we use a lot because when it comes to money, people can get very nervous and feel like I'm spending a lot of money, even though it's really the bank's money. I'm spending a lot of money and like, is this the right decision and why are we doing this and oh my gosh, right? So we want to help people understand that we're here to keep them safe and help them get from A to Z. So one of the scripts that we use is helping them understand that buying a home and hiring a realtor, a trusted realtor to help you do that is just like getting on a plane and trusting the pilot that's driving the plane. The pilot's job is to get you safely from, you know, from A to Z. Along that path from A to Z, there could be some turbulence. And the pilot is going to minimize the turbulence as much as possible to the best of his abilities because he's a professional and knows what he's doing. He can't promise there won't be any turbulence, but he's gonna promise you that he's gonna get you safely from A to Z and get you there on time and in the place that you're supposed to be. And that's just like when you work with a realtor, a professional realtor. So I can't promise you that throughout this process of buying, it's going to be turbulence-free because there's other parties involved in this process. There's a listing agent, there are other buyers, there is a seller. So there could be some turbulence along the way, but my role in this is to be the professional and help you minimize that turbulence, to help you get from A to Z as safely as possible with achieving the goals that you want to achieve. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And did it sound natural?
yeah.
Because I've been using that for years, 15 years probably. And the more you use it, the easier it gets and the more natural it sounds. And people are like, yeah, I get that. And they can relate. Everyone can relate to being on a plane. All the people that we want to be working with have taken planes, right?
Yeah.
So they can relate to that.
It's about expectations too, because they sometimes, if they're new to the thing, that they think it's gonna be all happy and everything is gonna be great, and it doesn't work that way
Yeah.
all the time.
No, it doesn't. We all know all the things that we kind of manage and
And somebody even done terrible houses, they look great on the pictures, but you go there, and, oh my God, how am I gonna navigate this one?
okay, so it doesn't sound like right now anyone has a buyer's handbook.
Not a buyer, no.
No one's got one.
No.
Sort of.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like it's current and it doesn't feel like it's got, it doesn't have a BRA in it. So maybe, are you willing to?
The
share?
BRA shouldn't be in the handbook, but it should be at your meeting that you sign, but separate from the handbook. Yes, I'm happy to send you our handbook, okay? So we can definitely, I'll send it out to everybody. I've got one, Trish has one, and then there's one here at KW, for instance, as well. And they're all different because of how everyone's a little twist on things. So you can cut and paste. It's gonna come in Word format, so you can take it and cut and paste the things that you like about it, so that it's your own. To be honest, I would just change the name on it to start and have it and put it on your 411 as like a monthly task to assess and address and put in like an hour of work into each week. But don't try and reinvent the wheel. They all work and it's something, so if it's working for Trish and I, it's gonna work for you too. So the KW one, which you can access online, it's a guide to buying your home. It's super easy to just input your name and your own photo and use it as a basic starting point. And then they start off with the concept of it's all about you, it's all about the client. So their needs, their dreams, their concerns, your questions, your finances, your time, and your life. And it's a little note, a little letter that's from you at the beginning. And I think it's great. I think it's really well done, and I think it really sets the tone for how you would want to start things off. And then the next thing it goes into is what you're going to get from me. Okay? So it's all about you, and then it's what you're going to get from me. Then it moves into 6 steps to buying homes, to home buying. And it talks about the 6 steps that they put out here. So for instance, you might, I think it's a little Americanized, so you might want to just read, it's very basic and simple, so you just read through and change a few of the words, like negotiate repairs, slightly different from what might be doing here, but you know, some basic steps to home buying. Funding your home purchase, there should always be a financial section in your buyer's handbook, and make sure it's correct and up to date. And if you're setting your home handbook as a PDF, and it could have a live link in it, so to click on, here's a great mortgage calculator that I really like as an example. That's really easy to do, and people are going to use that and like it. If you are, whenever you send your client anything, it should always be in PDF format because it's readable by everyone on every kind of device. Never send a Word document because that can be adjusted or changed. It just doesn't look professional. So make sure you convert to PDF. And everyone has that ability now, so when you go to print on your computer, one of the options is print to PDF rather than print to a printer. So everyone can access and do it now. It's really easy. It talks about making an offer. And again, this probably you'll see in mine, it's obviously for our marketplace, so you could always just cut and paste that section for mine as an example, because it might be a bit different in the American offer section. But making an offer is important, and understanding, you know, how offers get made and what money you need to have available with you at the time of making an offer, and multiple offers in our marketplace and what that means, representation, you know, the seller's working with a realtor, you're working with a realtor, and this is what it looks like and this is how it works. Mine's much bigger than this and much more broken down, so it's quite in-depth. Closing, there's a section on closing and what works on closing. Now this is really simple and basic, this one, and this is a great start. So if you can do nothing else after today, then use the KW one and just make sure that it's Canadianized with the words that you need and your names on it. It's only 6 or 7 pages. It would take you an hour to adjust, max, and you've got one ready to go. So if that's all you do, I would start with that and then take Trish's and mine and say, okay, great, I like these little pieces that kind of personalize a little bit more. I can add these in afterwards, but it's not pressing, it's not needing to happen right now. Okay? So you would have your pre-qualifying questions ready to go, and you'd have your buyer's handbook ready to go. Both of them in a PDF format that you can send off, but also in a format where you can customize your handbook. So you can put their name on it, for instance, before you forward it to them, if you wanted to. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Can I hold people accountable to actually doing this?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah?
Can you
So,
send me yours? Or-
yes.
Yeah. I would
So-
love to see it too.
Okay, so today is Wednesday, October 11th. So I'm gonna give you a week. Is that too long? Okay.
It's good.
So next Wednesday, October 18th, you are going to, by next Wednesday, I'm going to send you a reminder on Monday. Each of you are going to send me your buyer's handbook. Okay?
I love this.
Okay, so I'm just gonna write this out here, and you're just gonna sign it. To say you're willing
Sign
to
too?
to
Holy.
commit this.
He's
So,
signing this up.
I
Business.
commit to, so I commit to,
Isn't it something we are in a great business now?
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
It's just coming out there. Put yourself out there.
Just here.
It's
Got
like,
one, yeah.
it's like a gold mine, I thought, yeah.
What's like a gold mine?
Real estate, really, the
Oh.
business, right?
Wednesday, what's the date? October
18.
18th.
Once you get that lead, don't let go.
Email.
That's my weakness. I just noticed like from last year, because I joined Keller Williams last year in September, and then call, and the connections that I made like in the first 3 months, I look back, I made one sale out of that, and that was online. But I look what has sold. At least 5 properties have sold that I made connection with people.
Okay.
Imagine.
So here's what everyone's going to sign right now, just to really solidify the accountability here. It says, I commit to personalizing a buyer's handbook and sending it to Adrienne by Wednesday, October 10th via email. And it can be as simple and the most basic of the KW1, okay?
October 18.
Yeah, October 18th. So all, like that one, when you go on and log in and see it, it's like super easy to just put your name in and adjust it and then save it as a PDF, okay? Like it would take 10 minutes, okay? You can either do it as simple and basic as that, or you can take the one I'm gonna send you, our personal one, as well as Trish's. Did Trish send you hers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I even have it as well. So I'm gonna get you to forward it to me so I can forward it out to everyone. And then you
Just
can.
make sure that's okay with her, which I'm assuming it is, but she was like, I'm not gonna give it to anyone who wasn't in the class.
Yes, I think we already have hers actually. Remember or was the selling one? But yes, I can either ask it for it.
Okay, and I was like, I'm not
No
gonna give it to anyone, I promise.
Yeah, I will get it. So you'll have access to those as well. So you can get as creative as you want, or you can keep it as simple and basic. Okay?